Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through chapter 29, verse 29. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe all his commandments, as many as I charge thee this day, then all these curses shall come upon thee, and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy barns and thy stores. Cursed shall be the offspring of thy body, and the fruits of thy land, and the herds of thine oxen, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be in the coming in, and cursed shalt thou be in thy going out. The Lord send upon thee want, and famine, and consumption on all things on which thou shalt put thy hand, until he shall have utterly destroyed thee, and until he shall have consumed thee quickly, because of thine evil devices, because thou hast forsaken me. The Lord caused the pestilence to cleave to thee, until he shall have consumed thee off the land into which thou goest to inherit it. The Lord smite thee with distress, and fever, and cold, and inflammation, and blighting, and paleness, and they shall pursue thee until they have destroyed thee. And thou shalt have over thine head a sky of brass, and the earth under thee shall be iron. The Lord thy God make the rain of thy land dust, and dust shall come down from heaven, until it shall have destroyed thee, and until it shall have quickly consumed thee. The Lord give thee up for slaughter before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out against them one way, and flee from their face 7 ways. And thou shalt be a dispersion in all the kingdoms of the earth, and your dead men shall be food to the birds of the sky, and to the beasts of the earth, and there shall be none to scare them away. The Lord smite thee with the botch of Egypt in the seat, and with a malignant scab, and itch, so that thou canst not be healed. The Lord smite thee with insanity, and blindness, and astonishment of mind. And thou shalt grope at midday, as a blind man would grope in the darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And then thou shalt be unjustly treated, and plundered continually, and there shall be no helper. Thou shalt take a wife, and another man shall have her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell in it. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes of it. Thy calf shall be slain before thee, and thou shalt not eat it. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from thee, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall not be given to thine enemies, and thou shalt have no helper. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given to another nation. Thine eyes wasting away shall look for them. Thine hand shall have no strength. A nation which thou knowest not shall eat the produce of thy land, and all thy labors, and thou shalt be injured and crushed always. And thou shalt be distracted, because of the sights of thine eyes which thou shalt see. The Lord smite thee with an evil sore, on the knees and on the legs, so that thou shalt not be able to be healed from the sole of thy foot to the crown of thy head. The Lord carry away thee and thy princes, whom thou shalt set over thee, to a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers know. And thou shalt there serve other gods, wood and stone, and thou shalt be there for a wonder, a parable, a tale, among all the nations to which the Lord thy God shall carry thee away. Thou shalt carry forth much seed into the field, and thou shalt bring in little, because the locust shall devour it. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and dress it, and shalt not drink the wine, neither shalt thou delight thyself with it, because the worm shall devour it. Thou shalt have olive trees in all thy borders, and thou shalt not anoint thee with oil, because thine olive shall utterly cast its fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, and they shall not be thine, for they shall depart into captivity. All thy trees and the fruits of thy land shall thou blight consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. And he shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. And all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and shall overtake thee, until he shall have consumed thee, and until he shall have destroyed thee, because thou didst not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commands and his ordinances which he has commanded thee. And these things shall be signs in thee, and wonders among thy seed forever, because thou didst not serve the Lord thy God with gladness and a good heart, because of the abundance of all things. And thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord will send forth against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in the want of all things. And thou shalt wear upon thy neck a yoke of iron, until he shall have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring upon thee a nation from the extremity of the earth, like a swift flying of an eagle, a nation whose voice thou shalt not understand. A nation bold in countenance, which shall not respect the person of the aged, and shall not pity the young. And it shall eat up the young of thy cattle, and the fruits of thy land, so as not to leave to thee corn, wine, oil, the herds of thine oxen, and the flocks of thy sheep, until it shall destroy thee. and have utterly crushed thee in thy cities, until the high and strong walls be destroyed, in which thou trustest in all thy land, and it shall afflict thee in thy cities, which he has given to thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thy body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, all that he has given thee, in thy straitness and thy affliction, with which thine enemy shall afflict thee. He that is tender and very delicate within thee shall look with an evil eye upon his brother, and the wife in his bosom, and the children that are left, which may have been left to him, so as not to give to one of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because of his having nothing left in him in thy straitness, and in thy affliction, with which thine enemies shall afflict thee in all thy cities. And she that is tender and delicate among you, whose foot has not essayed to go upon the earth for delicacy and tenderness, shall look with an evil eye on her husband in her bosom, and her son and her daughter, and her offspring that comes out between her feet, and the child which she shall bear. For she shall eat them because of the want of all things, secretly in thy straitness, and in thine affliction, with which thine enemy shall afflict thee in thy cities. If thou wilt not hearken to do all the words of this law, which have been written in this book, to fear this glorious and wonderful name, the Lord thy God, then the Lord shall magnify thy plagues, and the plagues of thy seed, great and wonderful plagues, and evil and abiding diseases. And he shall bring upon thee all the evil pain of Egypt, of which thou wast afraid, and they shall cleave to thee. And the Lord shall bring upon thee every sickness, and every plague that is not written, and every one that is written in the book of this law, until he shall have destroyed thee. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of the sky in multitude, because thou didst not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass, that as the Lord rejoiced over you, to do you good, and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you, and ye shall be quickly removed from the land, into which ye go to inherit it. And the Lord thy God shall scatter thee among all nations, from one end of the earth to the other, and thou shalt there serve other gods, wood and stone, which thou hast not known, nor thy fathers. Moreover, among those nations he will not give thee quiet, neither by any means shall the sole of thy foot have rest. And the Lord shall give thee there another and misgiving heart, and failing eyes, and a wasting soul. And thy life shall be in suspense before thine eyes, and thou shalt be afraid by day and by night, and thou shalt have no assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, Would it were that evening, and in the evening thou shalt say, Would it were morning, for the fear of thine heart with which thou shalt fear, and for the sights of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee back to Egypt in ships, by the way of which I said, Thou shalt not see it again. And ye shall be sold there to your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and none shall buy you. These are the words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make for the children of Israel in the land of Moab, besides the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moses called all the sons of Israel, and said to them, Ye have seen all things that the Lord did in the land of Egypt before you to Pharaoh, and his servants, and all his land. The great temptations which thine eyes had seen, the signs, and those great wonders. Yet the Lord God has not given you a heart to know, and eyes to see, and eyes to hear, until this day. And he led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your garments did not grow old, and your sandals were not worn away off your feet. Ye did not eat bread, ye did not drink wine or strong drink, that ye might know that I am the Lord your God. And ye came as far as this place, and there came forth Sihon, king of Esbon, and Og, king of Bashan, to meet us in war. And we smote them, and took their land, and I gave it for an inheritance to Reuben and Gad, and to the half-tribe of Manasseh. And ye shall take heed to do all the words of this covenant, that ye may understand all things that ye shall do. Ye all stand today before the Lord your God, the heads of your tribes, and your elders, and your judges, and your officers, every man of Israel, your wives, and your children, and the stranger who is in the midst of your camp, from your hewer of wood even to your drawer of water, that thou shouldest enter into the covenant of the Lord thy God, and into his oaths, as many as the Lord thy God appoints thee this day, that he may appoint thee to himself for a people, and he shall be thy God, as he said to thee, as he swore to thy fathers, Abraham, and Isaac, and Jacob. And I do not appoint to you alone this covenant and this oath, but to those also who are here with you today before the Lord your God, and to those who are not here with you today. For ye know how he dwelt in the land of Egypt, how he came through in the midst of the nations through whom you came, And ye beheld their abominations, and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which are among them. Lest there be among you man, or woman, or family, or tribe, whose heart has turned aside from the Lord your God, having gone to serve the gods of these nations, lest there be in you a root springing up with gall and bitterness. And it shall be, if one shall hear the words of this curse, and shall flatter himself in his heart, saying, Let good happen to me, for I will walk in the error of my heart, lest the sinner destroy the guiltless with him. God shall by no means be willing to pardon him, but then the wrath of the Lord and his jealousy shall flame out against that man, and all the curses of this covenant shall attach themselves to him, which are written in this book. And the Lord shall blot out his name from under heaven. And the Lord shall separate that man for evil of all the children of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in the book of this law. And another generation shall say, Even your sons who shall rise up after you, and the stranger who shall come from a land afar off, and shall see the plagues of that land and their diseases, which the Lord hath sent upon it, brimstone and burning salt. The whole land shall not be sown, neither shall any green thing spring, nor rise upon it, as Sodom and Gomorrah were overthrown, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord overthrew in his wrath and anger. And all the nations shall say, Why has the Lord done this to this land? What is this great fierceness of anger? And men shall say, Because they forsook the covenant of the Lord God of their fathers, the things which he had appointed to their fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. And they went and served other gods, which they knew not, neither did he assign them to them. And the Lord was exceedingly angry with that land to bring upon it according to all the curses which are written in the book of this law. And the Lord removed them from their land in anger, and wrath, and very great indignation, and cast them out into another land as at present. The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things that are revealed belong to us, and to our children forever, to do all the words of this law. Psalm 62, 63 in Hebrew, a psalm of David, when he was in the wilderness of Idumea. O God, my God, I cried to thee early, my soul has thirsted for thee. How often has my flesh longed after thee, in a barren and trackless and dry land. Thus have I appeared before thee in the sanctuary, that I might see thy power and thy glory. For thy mercy is better than life. My lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee during my life. I will lift up my hands in thy name. Let my soul be filled as with marrow and fatness, and my joyful lips shall praise thy name. Forasmuch as I have remembered thee on my bed, in the early seasons I have meditated on thee. For thou hast been my helper, and in the shelter of thy wings will I rejoice. My soul has kept very close behind thee. Thy right hand has upheld me. But they vainly sought after my soul. They shall go into the lowest parts of the earth. They shall be delivered up to the power of the sword. They shall be portions for foxes. But the king shall rejoice in God. Every one that swears by him shall be praised. For the mouth of them that speak unjust things has been stopped. Proverbs chapter 12, verses 24 through 28. The hand of chosen men shall easily obtain rule, but the deceitful shall be for a prey. A terrible word troubles the heart of a righteous man, but a good message rejoices him. A just arbitrator shall be his own friend, but mischief shall pursue sinners. And the way of ungodly men shall lead them astray. A deceitful man shall catch no game, but a blameless man is a precious possession. In the ways of righteousness is life, but the ways of those that remember injuries lead to death. The Holy Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 12, verses 1 through 27. And he began to speak unto them by parables. A certain man planted a vineyard, and set a hedge about it, and digged a place for the winevat, and built a tower, and let it out to husbandmen, and went into a far country. And at the season he sent to the husbandman a servant, that he might receive from the husbandman of the fruit of the vineyard. And they caught him, and beat him, and sent him away empty. And again he sent unto them another servant, and at him they cast stones, and wounded him in the head, and sent him away shamefully handled. And again he sent another, and him they killed, and many others, beating some, and killing some. Having yet therefore one son, his well-beloved, he sent him also last unto them, saying, They will reverence my son. But those husbandmen said among themselves, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and the inheritance shall be ours. And they took him and killed him, and cast him out of the vineyard. What shall therefore the Lord of the vineyard do? He will come and destroy the husbandmen, and will give the vineyard unto others. And have ye not read the scripture? The stone which the builders rejected is become the head of the corner. This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. They sought to lay hold of him, but feared the people, for they knew that he had spoken the parable against them. And they left him, and went their way. And they sent unto him certain of the Pharisees and of the Herodians, to catch him in his words. And when they were come, they said unto him, Master, we know that thou art true, and carest for no man, for thou regardest not the person of men, but teachest the way of God in truth. Is it lawful to give tribute to Caesar, or not? Shall we give, or shall we not give? But he, knowing their hypocrisy, said unto them, Why tempt ye me? Bring me a penny, that I may see it. And they brought it. And he saith unto them, Whose is this image and superscription? And they said unto him, Caesar's. And Jesus, answering, said unto them, Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And they marveled at him. Then come unto him the Sadducees, which say there is no resurrection. And they asked him, saying, Master, Moses wrote unto us, If a man's brother die, and leave his wife behind him, and leave no children, that his brother should take his wife, and raise up seed unto his brother. Now there were 7 brethren, and the first took a wife, and dying left no seed. And the second took her, and died, neither left he any seed. And the third likewise. And the 7 had her, and left no seed. Last of all, the woman died also. In the resurrection, therefore, when they shall rise, whose wife shall she be of them? For the 7 had her to wife. And Jesus answering said unto them, Do ye not therefore err, because ye know not the Scriptures, neither the power of God? For when they shall rise from the dead, they neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels which are in heaven. And as touching the dead, that they rise, have ye not read in the book of Moses, how in the bush God spake unto him, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob? He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Ye therefore do greatly err.